Hey everyone, it's BigSmoons with a Platinum Review, where I talk about the games that I have the Platinum Trophy or 100% on and what it took to get there. I also review the games based on the amount of fun I had. With October upon us, I wanted to talk about a horror game, and so today we're going to take a look at Until Dawn. Until Dawn is an interactive horror story game developed by Supermassive Games and released in 2015. The game is a Sony exclusive and can be found on PlayStation Now, as well as on the PS Plus collection if you have a PS5. The story begins with you taking the role of Beth Washington. She is here with her sister, Hannah, and brother, Josh. There's a party at their family's lodge in the mountains, and all of their friends are there. As a result of a cruel prank, Hannah runs out into the night, with her sister following behind her. Here, the two girls are never seen by their friends again, and are officially reported as missing. You as the player gets to see what happens to them, but the other characters have no idea. 1 year later, their brother Josh invites the old gang back out to the lodge for an anniversary get-together. The cast of the game includes Josh, Sam, Chris, Ashley, Emily, Mike, Matt, and Jessica. You may see some familiar faces on these characters, such as Rami Malek, Hayden Panettiere, and Brett Dalton. This group plans on spending the night in the lodge, but things immediately begin to go bad. Until Dawn is a nod to slasher flicks as a masked man begins to torment the group. They can't connect to the outside world, and they are stuck on the mountain after getting off of the cable car. The masked man is not the only thing lurking on the mountain, as monsters emerge as well. The mountain was home to a mine and a mental asylum. I don't want to spoil too much of the story, but you get to visit these locations and hear the backstory of the events there. The action is often broken up with cuts of talking to a psychiatrist. It isn't clear at first whether you as the player are talking to him, or if you are actively in the shoes of one of the characters. You talk to him about your fears, as well as likes and dislikes. This tailors the game to the person playing. Even though the characters separate and reconvene across the mountain, the action finally comes to a head back at the lodge, where you have one final series of QuickTime events to save everyone who made it this far. I understand if QuickTime events are not your thing, but here it's used as a tool to make it more of a game than just a choose-your-own-adventure story. You take control of each of the characters throughout the playthrough and make dialogue and action choices. This wildly changes how the story plays out. Even collecting certain collectibles changes crucial conversations in interesting ways. Your ultimate goal is to make sure all of the characters survive until dawn, when help can arrive. The core gameplay is making choices in dialogue, walking around the environments, and collecting clues to understand exactly what is happening on the mountain. Speaking of choices, you get one at the very beginning. Do you want to use traditional controls or motion controls? I will always choose the normal controls. There are QuickTime events that you must pass at certain points as well. There's also a section that is called Don't Move. It is very tense and requires the player to hold the controller still while something is happening on screen. It's a mechanic that makes use of the controller's motions control. These parts can be tough, and I recommend that you learn when the parts are coming and put the controller on a flat surface prior to the task. Switching between the characters is great, as they all have their own personalities and, as the player, you will get attached to some of them and want to see them survive. But you might want to see some of them perish. The main principle that the game focuses on is the idea of the butterfly effect. The slightly different choices you make in the moment ripple out into completely different outcomes. I give Until Dawn a 9 out of 10 for fun. What I love about this game is that your choices actually have weight behind them. In a lot of narrative-driven story games, the endings will vary slightly, but ultimately, the story being told was the developer's story. Here, it feels like the choices you choose to make or not make have a real bearing on who survives the night and who doesn't. On your journey, you can find totems that act as hints to events that may or may not occur. You can glean a little information and make choices based on what you see. Another great feature is the previously on segments. These recap the important parts in between chapters. This is good for when you leave the game for a few days at a time and refreshes your memory on what you did before. I love a good horror game every once in a while, and Until Dawn captures the magic of slasher flicks so well, and then it turns around and does a great job at featuring monsters as well. Let's talk trophies. There are 19 trophies here, and while that does not seem like a lot, it will require multiple playthroughs to the end to obtain. You will obtain over a third of them by collecting all of the collectibles and making sure everyone survives. There's also a trophy for making sure everyone dies, and some for making sure certain scenes take place. Thankfully, there's a chapter select that greatly shortens the time it takes to reach the ending again. You will have to see multiple death scenes and ending scenes if you want to get all these trophies. I recommend you play through the game at least once, from start to finish, and make the choices that you think are the best. It's much better to experience the story that way than to follow a strict walkthrough. But I understand these are platinum videos, and you might want to take the path of least resistance to the trophy. If that's the case, feel free to follow a walkthrough. If you aren't interested in multiple playthroughs to see all the trophy-related scenes, this platinum is not for you. If you enjoy the story, the characters, and want to see them all survive and subsequently die for trophies, then I recommend you get that platinum. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope everyone's enjoying their day and their year. Sometimes it is the darkest before the sun rises, but the sun will rise again. Let's get to the sunrise together. If you need to talk or rant, I can be reached on Twitter @BigSmoons. Thank you.